declare that having been entrusted with the responsibility of the office of the General Secretary, Women Affairs League, with
to come and address you. Our chief guest, Dr. Sarah Wasagali Kanaabi. She is also, as she has indicated when she stood up, an alumnus of the I.U.I.U 93-94 session when she joined here for a postgraduate diploma in education. She has worked in the university in different capacities. She was the female warden at one time. She was also a lecturer in economics. As I have mentioned, she holds a doctorate from Makerere University, Doctor of Economics. She is currently the chairperson of Electricity Regulatory Authority. That's not a mean achievement. She is also a board member of Citizenship and Immigration. That's not also a cheap position. She is aspiring to be the incoming woman MP Mbale City. Takbir. When I say those positions, just I want you to envision also, she's an
world at large.
Yes.
I undertake this obligation voluntarily and promise to do my best in fostering achievement of the world vision, mission, and objectives. So help and guide me, Allah.
Amen. Takbir.
Akbar. La.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين. My dear sister and friend, Dr. Halima Wakabi, Akbar Wakabi, who is none other than the patron of the Women's League and South. The other leaders of the association, the patrons, Your Excellency, the Guild President, are you the one who came home? Oh, come again. The incoming and the outgoing leadership of Musau, the incoming and outgoing leadership of Women's League, the media fraternity, the gentlemen who love supporting women, the permanent and pensionable MC. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's really gratifying for me to be back home. For me, I.U. is home. I worked here, like she said, for 10 years. But before that, this very venue was my secondary school, Nkoma Secondary School. I made it to Makerere University through Nkoma Secondary School. And I'm home because this is the university that has made me what I am today. It was my first serious employer. When I joined in 1995 as a female warden, I was a younger mother of 2 children. I was able to grow, to be mentored through the system, growing academically, but also as a person in terms of thinking and skills and so on. That shaped me partially to be what I am today. I will forever remain grateful to the Islamic University in Uganda. I want to appreciate the organizers for inviting me. There are so many Muslims around who have been invited to be chief guests, but in your wisdom, you selected me to be chief guest tonight. And I don't take that favor for granted. Thank you for inviting me. But I apologize for coming late because I started my journey very early in the morning. In fact, my first journey out of the home, I shared a meal with the MC. MC didn't tell them we shared a meal in the morning. Not in my home, but somewhere else. That's how I started my journey. I've been on different functions as a chief guest. But this is my last one. I can be here up to Margaret and Isha. I want to appreciate my sister, Dr. Halima. Thank you for mentoring these young people. Sometimes I feel guilty that I have not given you enough time. But I'm confronted by the fact that I'm serving elsewhere. Now, in my service, I'll tell you my journey of leadership, because you are here as leaders. My leadership journey started when I was a student. I went through secondary school. In fact, in Nkoma Secondary School, I was just an assistant prefect. I passed and joined Navumali High School. The moment I walked into the gates of Navumali, I got seen 2 girls. Because maybe of my height, they said, "You are our next head girl." Without speaking a word. I said, "Oh." And when I contested for head girl, I was given almost 90% of the votes. And in Navumali, they had a culture where the students vote you and then the teachers sit amongst the first 3 to select who should be the head girl. And they said, if we don't appoint this girl as the head girl, this school will be burnt. The Justice Bamukemereire, you know her. She's also a big lady in this country. From Navumali, I had challenges and came back to my school, Nkoma Secondary School. That's where I sat for A level and made it to Makerere on merit. We didn't even have the 1.5. When I arrived in Makerere, in my first year, I became the sports secretary. Because I was a netballer and football also. Play football. In my second year, I went for guild representation, the parliament of students. I became a GRC representing my hall. At the GRC, I was among the 4 students elected to represent Makerere University on the Uganda National Students Association. So you are seeing my leadership journey. When I graduated, I came back to the community. I think I was the first female to represent this university and in Nkoma as a councillor in the Mbale Municipal Council of that time. I served the 2 terms as a councillor. When I joined the council, I became the secretary for finance for the 2 terms that I served the council. I left a clean record. Clean. Now, having served that council, of course, there are other appointments. I served on my school as the vice chair. The current mufti was the chairman of the board. I was his vice, in charge of finance also. I also served on Mbaleses, Mamdan Girls High School. I've been serving. Now, I thought being a councillor is small. When the Wapakaguro passed on, I picked guts to contest with men for that direct position. And I gave them a hard time. They could go with their kids, they are reading the speeches. For me, I just go with my head and just speak. Go to Parliament. 206. You know, President Museveni is a very intelligent and keen leader. He had identified me as a leader. I was praying in the day at Old Kampala. I had just enrolled for my PhD. He sent somebody to ask me to come to Mbale and contest for woman member of parliament for the district. I didn't have money. When I told the person who had been sent, I don't have money. He said, when the fountain of honor speaks, just go and prepare your budget and bring it. And I quickly did that. I didn't even consult anyone. I gave that person the budget. I waited for the money. It never came. I'd already started campaigning, I borrowed the money. I realized I was heading for danger if I continued borrowing the money. So I just continued. I didn't even reach some places of the district. So I just lost miserably, not because I was a bad candidate, but because I lacked facilitation. I didn't stop there showing up. In 2012, I said, now if these people of Mbale can't see my abilities, let me go for ELGON, the East African Legislative Assembly. I was in the Parliament of Uganda, campaigning to represent Uganda in East Africa. If voting was based on merit and eloquence, I would have gone to the East African Parliament at that time. But there were other considerations. Because when I got the microphone to speak, the whole parliament was quiet. The MPs were outside saying, who is this one speaking? When they came in and listened, they said, anyway, we have other considerations that should be the right candidate. Now, that participation is part of the reason I'm where I am. When I presented my CV at that time, I was still pursuing my PhD. The then Prime Minister Mbabazi, he asked me a question. He said, Hajat, where have you been? He said, in his own words, regardless of the outcome of this election, we are not going to leave you behind. The then Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable I.U.I.U Kanaabi, the Board of Immigration had fallen vacant. She said, why is that Muslim lady? She should be on this board. Now, by that time, I don't know whether Kurukunyu is a son to my brother Faisal Kurukunyu. Are you? My brother had lost an election. They had proposed my name to be on the board. But you know, being a former member of parliament, they said no. Instead of taking this young lady, let's take our own colleague who now has lost an election. So they appointed Honorable Kikurukunyu Faisal to serve on that board. 2012. Well, I didn't give up showing up my abilities. In 2015, I didn't apply to be on Electricity Regulatory Authority Board. My abilities had been identified, my capacity had been recognized. They simply invited me to submit my CV. You don't need to fight and bribe to climb ladders of leadership. Exhibit your best. Opportunities will look for you. When I was appointed on that board as a member, we had a chair who is from Acholi, he's a king. Now, they expected me as a Muslim, first of all, to discriminate them. They didn't see that in me. I was the most highly educated member on the board. They expected me to exhibit arrogance. I did not do that. I was the most humble person on the board. Humility, leaders, will take you miles. Humility will take you miles. When the old man served his first term, 3 of us were eligible for reappointment. Of course, I had performed so well even at board level, because when you are a part of the team, you must add your value to the team. And at one time, the chair got so comfortable that when I don't have any issue in a paper, he's comfortable that there is no problem. Because I read the board papers, I made my contribution. When he was exiting, they asked him to recommend. I am a Muslim. He was a Catholic. He said, the best person to take this organization forward is none other than Dr. Sarah. My name to cabinet. It was unanimously approved. So I started my journey. Now, as the leader of the organization, I have led Electricity Regulatory Authority to the level of being recognized as the best regulator on the African continent. It's not only once, not twice, for 5 consecutive years. We are the best regulator, being ranked by the African Development Bank. What do they consider? They consider what you decide and the impact you have in the field where you are a regulator. So when I see bodies like the Coffee Development Organization being terminated prematurely, probably they didn't know their job as a regulator. As I talk now, we are the benchmark of Africa in terms of leadership of boards. All other boards come to us to benchmark. How do you do it?
Takbir!
Government organization, UEDCL is taking over. We held a public hearing. And that is part of our culture, core values, transparency. I didn't expect that much turnout. There were over 2,000 participants, and I was chairing the public hearing. We had visitors from Zanzibar. They had come to benchmark. They said, we want to see how you do it. They were overwhelmed by the kind of conduct, the way we conduct our business. They said, this is our first time to witness a public hearing where there are no exchange of bitter arguments. So, Madam Chair, who has been sworn in today, the mantle of the organization, of the association you are leading, largely depends on you. It's you, the chair, who will either uplift or break the association. It is the chair. How do you consider your colleagues? I will not talk much, but what I want you all leaders to have in mind is that one, always believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it, and you will do it. Now, believing in yourself doesn't mean being arrogant, being egoistic. You know, ego is a different thing. Thinking you know everything, thinking you have all the powers to decide. As a chair, you don't dictate what others should decide upon. You should actually be the last person to have an opinion, especially if there is division within the room. You come lastly with your wisdom to guide the debate. Never impose your ideas on your team. Yours is to select, to give opportunity to people to air their views. Yours is to build the team. Once you don't hold your team cohesive, that is the beginning of rumor mongering, cliques, and then infighting, and before you know it, you're thrown out of office. For the 5 years I've been a chair, I have never had a minority opinion. You know what that means? That for you agree, for me I'm against that. I've never. It's always consensus as a team. And as a team, you own the decisions that you take. As a team, you all have a contribution to make. I've seen you have different roles. Within your role as a leader, what differentiates between a leader and you call them workers is that you should be innovative. First of all, understand your role. What am I supposed to do? That's the beginning point. Where is the legal and the guidance in doing this work? I believe you have a constitution. It should be a guiding principle. You have the Holy Quran. It's the mega guidance to your work. So understand the framework within which you are to execute your mandate. Once you know your job, make a contribution. Don't wait for the chair to say, can you do ABC? If you are in charge of training, think through, what should we do? What are the areas that we need training? So I urge you as leaders to always develop your abilities through learning, through reading, through researching. There is a lot of information on the network, on the internet. But what do you do with your phone? TikTok? Even TikTok has topics. Which topics do you select? So as leaders, I expect you to look for knowledge in leadership. That is self-development. And before I forget, I want to pledge that if you are willing, I saw the Wasagali person saying you go for training, you pay 100,000. 100 is a lot of money for a student. I offer myself to give you more guidance on leadership. I'm being benchmarked on the continent. Why can't I give this to my own? So I'll find time and take you through the basics of a good leader. But development, seeking knowledge, and skills is very, very important for a leader. A leader must know the leadership skills, which include communication. If you can't communicate effectively, then you must improve. There is always room for improvement. How do you communicate to people? Dr. Halima told me, she didn't tell you that. She taught me psychology of education. But I was a mature student. When you enter a room, I'm a teacher. When you enter a room, a lecture room, a classroom, do you command respect? You know, there are lecturers who are in a classroom and you imagine there is no one lecturing. But when you enter, you should command that respect and attention as a leader. That's why the guest of honor doesn't come early. Agree? Yes, when everybody is seated.
Those are skills from one who is being benchmarked with the
The
whole
chair
Africa.
consults. When you realize there is an issue that is likely to cause division on the board, first have that background discussion with those not members so that you reach a harmonized position before you go for the meeting. Not to argue in the meeting. Not to exchange blows like our members of parliament. They fail to reason and begin resort to physical exchange. So 6 skills that will actually promote your leadership. Communication. Soft skills. These days we talk about soft skills, the communication, the emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence tells you, it is different from what we call the I.U.I.U. I.U.I.U is different. You can be a bright person, but emotional intelligence has to do with putting yourself in the other person's shoes, or in other people's shoes. What do you say to which group of people? Today I've had 3 different functions. One of them was meeting the ghetto boys, and I spoke the message they want to hear. Give them hope. So what do you say where? It's part of leadership, that you should understand that if I say this, it's going to annoy people. But I can say this differently, not to come open. How do you convey bad message to people? It is a skill that you must learn. It's very important that you acquaint yourself with ICT skills. Right? Artificial intelligence. I know some of you, maybe not you, but some students use it to cheat exams. In fact, I'm not teaching these days, but if I were teaching, I would be in trouble because I'm smart in IT skills. Because even in my board, we went paperless. You don't find the papers on my board. The first day, I said, I don't want papers in the boardroom as a contribution to environmental quality. So we went electronic. So how do you leverage on ICT skills? All these are important things for you to consider as leaders. Now, in my journey of leadership, I've realized one thing, that everybody, the proud Mogishu talked about about it and Dr. Halima, every member of the team has a contribution to make. It depends on you as a chair how you enhance that person's abilities to contribute to the association. On my board, I have an engineer. I'm shocked that I joined the energy sector. I didn't do physics. For me, my job was to switch on if there is electricity, and that is it. So I entered a field that I'd never dreamt of in my life, that I would be critical in taking decisions for that sector. So the composition is in such a way that we are different disciplines. You have a lawyer, there are lawyers in this room. You know how they behave. They never keep quiet. They will always have an opinion. Yeah. So I'm chairing a board where there is a lawyer, there is an engineer, there is an accountant, and not just a simple accountant, the former accountant general of this country. He is my board member. And then, of course, my professor, Dumba, who is an economist. Now, how do you leverage on all those different skills to take good decisions? How do you make a lawyer understand? Of course, mine on the job and Professor Dumba is the tariff. Every time we have to determine the price for you of electricity. So ours is the tariff determination. The engineers all do all the data work and the dubious and the hard work and so on. For us economists, we just come and determine the price. But how do you make the engineer understand the tariff determination? How do you make a lawyer understand how the tariff is determined and so on? So chair and other chairs in the room, plus His Excellency the Guild President, always your job is to find out how best you can reap from your team. Now, you are here building your CV, right? Like I built mine. This will be part of your CV a few years to come. when you are given an opportunity to serve, what are the core values that you must ensure you don't break them? Of course, we've mentioned teamwork, integrity. I'm where I am because of integrity. Even the president of this country knows that I'm a person of proven integrity. Because whatever we do, he gets access to information.
Takbir. Proven integrity.
When I was still a board member, I was appointed to chair an oversight committee to construct a new building for the organization. I did my work diligently. Moreover, the contractor is one having problems with this country, a local construction company. The Parliament building has installed, IGG building has installed, Molago has installed, and name it. For us, we were able to pull out our building during the COVID period. We had negotiated that the building would cost 34 billion. Because of strict supervision, we were able to save close to 7 billion. I was the chair of the oversight committee. I would have connived with the contractor to take that money. I would be very rich.
A credit to Mami. Takbir.
But we declared that amount publicly, and they called us fools. Those women will never grow rich, because that's my CEO and myself. But that is not my money. So integrity is very important. Doing the right thing always, regardless of whether you are being watched or not. It will come back to you. When you are corrupt, you will be known. You can't hide. I have washed off my hands from corruption from the time I was a young girl in leadership as a cancer. The sector is so tempting that there are billions of money that can entice you to break your integrity. I've said no. If you want to meet me in privacy, I'll say fine. If you want to meet me, come to the boardroom. Somebody comes thinking you are going to be the two of you, you call your CEO, CEO come, director technical come, director economic come, director legal come. This stakeholder has an issue. So even if he has come with a sack of money, he cannot give it to you. Active environment for women. Then we conditioned all the licensees. For us, we are regulators, so we regulate. Currently, we have 54 licensed companies, including Umeme. Uganda is no Umeme. Sometimes they think I'm a chair of Umeme. Umeme is under me. I regulate them. So we gave them a condition. We have a program called Graduate Training Program, where we encourage them to bring in fresh graduates. We don't need experience. If you excel, they recruit you. They train you for 1 to 3 years. And if they have vacancies, you are absorbed within. Because you can't manufacture experience elsewhere. So when we created that program, we conditioned that we want 60% of those positions to be for scientists, 40% for arts, lawyers, public administration, and so on. Then we said, okay, of all those positions, we also want at least 40% to be women. Am I not working for women?
Yeah.
So you are using your wisdom and innovation to promote women without saying you are promoting women. And I've addressed my female members of staff. In fact, when we started Women in Energy, I said we should start with the internal women in energy before we go to schools and institutions. I told them, if you can't excel when I'm the body chair, blame yourselves. So we deliberately mentor them to work hard and excel. We don't just give them positions. They are very competitive women. Very competitive. So I want to see women in the pipeline coming up. So Dr. Halima and I are here because we want you to come up. Some of you should replace us. Go beyond us. Never chair the board. So initially he shared with me that he had refused to accept. Because you know judges in this country retire with their salary. He has a good salary. He said, I know immigration is rotten, it's going to taint my name, I've retired with my name. They confided in me that they told him, no, you have a lady called Sarah. She's going to help you to make sure that that board performs to its best. I said, is that the reason I was appointed? We started the journey together, and he was always consulting me because the era is the best for the continent and in Uganda. So we worked. We instituted our method of work as a board. This is what they call the board charter. It guides you on the do's and don'ts of the board. The organization, the board had never had such in their life. I initiated and we had one. The board had never been evaluated. The Hope Man said evaluation. At the end of your term of service, they will evaluate you. So I instituted, I argued, I said we can't continue performing without being evaluated as a board. Some members feared, because I will evaluate you as my member, you will evaluate me as a member, and then the top management will evaluate each one of us. And that report is produced. Today it is now a culture of national citizenship and immigration to be evaluated on performance. When we did that, this year, this organization, National Citizenship and Immigration, was voted the best department of government in Uganda.
Takbir! Masturanga no hambe kasoko. Raise it higher.
Women of
Okay,
substance.
that's very good. Women of substance. Our chief guest, this cake was donated by Hajat Nabakwana, the one who is just next to you, on your right. Come on, you see? So I'm counting 3, 0. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, chief guest. We are grateful. We can now take up our seats and we